Hello there, my name is HW, and thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. It's a very exciting day today because the brand new Kemper Drives are out. This is the first look at the new Kemper Drives. They just went from private into public beta, and oh my word, are they good. You just heard one of them right there, and it's actually, it's super usable. Check this out. Check out this sound so you can hear exactly what the Overdrive's doing. This is this is a String Singer NBR2 profile, and it sounds like this. Beautiful, beautiful, clean sound, like a big, bluesy, dumbly John Stevie type of thing. Now, when I turn on the Kemper Drive, and I've got it at this low setting, it's that sound you were hearing kind of there at the intro in the second half. It sounds beautiful, and of course I can turn it up. Kind of to something like this, and I'll leave it on the same pickup setting. Beautiful, beautiful, bluesy overdrive, and it reminds me of something. It reminds me of this guy right here. It's the Marshall Bluesbreaker V1A, and that's actually what the Kemper Drive is going for with this preset, among other things, because the Kemper Drive is actually trying to replicate the sound of many popular drives. So actually what's interesting here is we've got some presets, and that one that I was just playing on was actually the B-Breaker Max, and this is the max setting that you would get with this pedal. Now it keeps going even higher because it tries to replicate things like the King of Tone, and we're going to get into it, how it does the Klon, the Horizon Precision Drive. All of these things have been thought about. The Boss OD pedal, the OD, is it 1 or 2 or 3? Well, we'll get into all of them, but let's talk about these controls and how it goes about getting all of these sounds. Okay, so at the beginning you saw a good example of what drive does, tone, you understand what that does. The next control, definition control. Wait a minute, definition control? What are you doing there? You're in the wrong place. You're supposed to be, there's 2 of them. There's 2 definition controls? Wow. I mean, I love this definition control. I bet I'm gonna love this other one. The other one we have is slim down. Slim down. The heck does that mean? Well, let's talk about it for a minute. Drive is drive, tone is tone. Definition control, in this case, controls the amount of low end and bass frequencies that go into the drive from your guitar. So your guitar EQ goes through, and when we lower the definition control, we're letting more and more of this bass information through. Now, most drive pedals share a sort of similar topography, especially ones that come from the Bluesbreaker, that might be semi-inspired by Tube Screamers or Bluesbreakers. There's all sorts of variants of this guy and the Tube Screamer. But one of the things they have in common is that they dump low end before the gain stage, and they do that, you do it in amplifiers also, high gain amplifiers do it, a lot of amps do it. You dump bass because if you have too much bass, you get this very woolly, overly bassy, woofy sort of character. And what that means is your notes get just fat, and not in like a good way fat, but just really muddy and murky, and they lack, get ready for it, definition. That's right. So the definition control in this case, by turning it up, we actually get away from, we actually are shelving some of the low end, and I believe it might be controlling some of the highs too, or it's just when you dump the low end, your ear has the perception that high end's coming in. I mean, we'd have to really sit down with Christoph and know exactly what it's doing. But let me show you what the definition does as I roll it back to sort of a lower setting. So here's a lower setting on definition with this same sound, drives at 3.8. Very fat, much more tube screamery. Now when I get it up to 5, it's going to behave just like a tube screamer. Right there at 5, we should feel a familiar mid-hump. And as we go up, we should start to get a little less of that mid-humpness and a little more high-end clarity, more definition coming out. Still very fat in the low end, though. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Now, definition control, if we ride it all the way up, we really can get some interesting sounds here. And it's important to note here that this definition, lowering it, is going to give us, check it out, a very okay, watch this. With this gain low, I'm going to leave it at 4.5. Very full in the low end. That's really good for blues, and it reminds me of a pedal called the Timmy. And there's a reason for that, because that's definitely one of the pedals that we're trying to emulate here. Okay, now the slim down control is really interesting because at first you think you know what it does, and then it starts to do something else, and you're like, what is that? The slim down control emphasizes the change that the definition control is making. So at higher drive settings, and when the definition control is in play here, the slim down control can be used to give us accurate Klon sounds. And slim down is an interesting name for it because it makes sense to me. If you've ever compared an 808 and a Klon back to back, you'll notice that the 808, the tube screamer, gives this very megaphone-like kind of quality to it when it's boosting the mids. It shelves highs, shelves lows, and you have this almost megaphone. The tube screamer to me sounds like a person yelling through a megaphone. And that's really useful for being heard. Those are very vocal frequencies. They cut through very well. But the Klon does something a little differently. It takes out a lot of that low-end fullness. It cuts bass. It doesn't really cut the highs as much because you have this sort of, you have a treble control on a real Klon and on clones too. And you're able to get like a vocal mid-range, but it's a little more of a high mid-range. It doesn't have as much content in the 100, 200, 300, 400, even 500 hertz area. And so, it's really unique. The slim down control is very useful here. And what I want to show you, and then we'll look into some presets, is the slim down control emphasizes whatever the definition control is doing. So if we saw, like we saw there, if the definition control is up, let's put it at 7. Let's watch what the slim down does. At 0, it sounds like this. I'm going to up the slim down. Slim down back at 0. Slim down higher. More drive. Okay, now watch what happens when we turn the definition. Let's put the slim down back at 0. So what was it doing there? It's taking out low end. It's taking out low end and it's making it thinner. It's like slimming it down, right? But let's back this definition control off and put it down here. Definition at 3.5. Now listen to this. reminds me a bit of the King of Tone there. Now, let's up this slim down, and now what's it gonna start doing? It's now doing the opposite. So when the definition control, it's doing whatever the definition control is doing, whether it's higher or lower than 5. So 5 is like default tube screamer type thing in terms of definition. Then when we come down, we get fatter. Now this is useful because getting fatter down here might mean we have less of that mid-range hump from a tube screamer, but we have more fullness. Reminds me a bit like a fat King of Tone, but it reminds me of that Timmy with the bass knob turned all the way, that bass cut knob that the Timmy's got, turn it all the way off, let all of that bass come through, and it kind of sounds like this. And that's interesting because now let's look at some of the presets. That's sort of how these things are working. So here we have a tube screamer on max. And this is a maximum tube screamer, kind of the most gain you get out of the tube screamer. Everything's at 5, slim down's at 0. It sounds like this. Actually, to me, it sounds a little better than a tube screamer because I think it's a tad fuller than a tube screamer. In a good way, in a good way. Or maybe it's just the amp has enough bass. This is a full sounding amp in the bottom end. But my point is, that sounds better than I would expect as a tube screamer to sound. I wouldn't complain about it as much in my head. Now here's the Bluesbreaker on max. Now we have a higher definition control and no slim down. If I lower the gain a bit, I leave that definition up, I could even raise my tone. All you guys looking for transparent overdrives on the Kemper, check out the Kemper Drive. Gain between like 3 to 5, definition control at about 6 to 6.5, slim down 0, roll that tone a little bit above 5, and to me, you've got kind of what we look for in the praise and worship world for like a clean, transparent drive. That's my clean sound. Here is with that kind of transparency sound. The Kemper Drive has an almost a little bit of a chime quality to the high end, which I really like. Rolling that tone up just gives like a nice little chimey kind of characteristic. Let's go through now and let's look at some of these other ones. I'm going to skip the Horizon attack because it's not really, to me, appropriate for this kind of amp, but I am going to do a video with the Horizon presets. Here's Kemper Clean, and actually, coincidentally, it's kind of what I was just talking about. Definition control 6, 6.5, drive at about 5, 3 to 5 is what I said for like a transparent kind of boosty clean thing, and then tone right here. Maybe I'm insane, but all I know is the higher I turn this drive, it gets fat and tubey and tubular and round, and I just love it. And I don't know if they're adjusting some EQ or if it's somehow just how that drive goes up, but I love at the low settings, it's very transparent. At the high settings, it gets a little more aggressive, and that's honestly what I really love in a drive. I think by creating this Kemper Drive with the intention of, in the higher gain stuff, I want to nail this, and in the lower gain stuff, I want to nail this. They made this drive that sort of does these beautiful things all the way up and down the gain range, as opposed to a lot of drives that just have a sweet spot. So that was King Clean. Here's King Overdrive. 6.5 now. And then definition rolled back a little to 4.8, tone at 5. There's a real fatness and a big character there that I really like. I'm going to do a back-to-back and compare it with the King of Tone in the future, but it has a quality that I really like that reminds me a bit of the King of Tone. It's in this family. It's in this Bluesbreaker King of Tone family, and I really like that. These presets. Now, then I come over here, and we're going to skip Klon for 1 second, and we're going to run to Tim Bass. The reason it's called Tim Bass is we're turning this definition control all the way down. Check out this bassy quality on the Tim. That is the bass all the way down, and it's thick and big on the bridge. Not exactly how I would use it for really any other position but the bridge, but it's very useful for here. Very lovely, lovely, lovely. Now there's 4 Tim bass presets in here, and it goes like this. Basically what they're doing is just upping the definition control so you have some reference points. So we upped the definition from 0 to 2. Now we've upped it to 5.8. So, okay, we're upping the Timmy. And what we're doing is cutting the bass. And what is that doing? It's giving it more of a mid-range emphasis back. So we're cutting some of that bass coming in. At 0, it's all the bass coming in. So it's like that bass cut on the Tim. Now we're bringing it up, and we're getting almost, into where I would call these sorts of transparency, with no drive at all. With the drive. That right there is honestly the new king of transparent overdrives on the Kemper. If you want low gain, transparency kind of overdrive, this is it right here. 5, 5, 6.3. That's it. And that, remember, 6.3 here is a lot like we had at 6 for this guy when we were going for a similar sound. And then and that's really the transparency setting, I think. That's it. That's the new king of transparent drives. You want a transparent drive? Tone Junkie had one. This is better. Freaking beautiful. Come on. Come on. Okay, let's jump to the Klon, and we'll work on some of these later. Here's Klon. What we're doing now is we've got high drive, we've got tone definition at halfway up, and then a high slim down control. What's that doing? Taking out a lot of the low mids and stuff. That's a Klon character right there, I'll tell you. Slim down at nothing. Turn that slim down way up there. Way up. You throw this on. guys, we got a lot of tools here. And I got to say one thing, even if it doesn't, I'll compare them back to back with all these pedals, but even if it doesn't 100% nail each one, it's getting the quality of it that I think is musical and desirable. And that's sort of what I care about a little more than if it, because then you get into this thing, which clone best represents the Klon? And at some point I just get to like, okay, I really like the Molineer, I really like the Archer, I really like the Centura. They all sound really good to me. I'm not mad if a real Klon sounds slightly different. Those ones sound musical and really good. So, I mean, you get into some sort of, all right, slim down, same controls, drives a little lower, slim down at 4. We're on Klon 2 now. I mean, it's this good stuff here, really good stuff. Klon at 4, Klon 3 is most things in the middle, but now we're widening that Klon, that slim down is way different. Glad they put this in here because this Klon 4 to me represents mostly what you see guys like John Mayer setting the Klon up as. It's a drive that's very low and it's a tone. You could even up this tone a little bit, but the slim down is at 0 and then you have this definition and it kind of just is like a little gentle. To me, it almost, you're gonna want it to do this a little bit. Yeah, to me to really nail the Klon thing, you want that slim down about 3 to 7 is where to me it nails that thing. But really, really interesting. Klon 3, Klon 2. Yeah, so these Klon presets just have the slim down changing and some of the drive changing. So basically I'm saying this, if you want to just transform into a Klon, just roll that slim down to 3, from anywhere from 3 to 7, and to my ear, just sitting here right now, it instantly reminds me of my Archer and all the other Klon pedals I've had. Archer is the one I've had for a long time, it's my favorite right now. But they just instantly sound that way. This drive is incredible. I'm just going to say that right now. We have a new standard for transparent, low. Sunday morning, guys, get ready. You just want a little boost. You got your sound and you want to go to a chorus. You may not need the next gain stage on the amp, right? You may not need the next Tone Junkie or Michael Britt profile or whatever. You may just need to click this thing on. And because it's really beautiful. I really like this. For transparent, Kemper Clean is a great place to start, and I would even say just put your drive between 3 and 5, tone at 5 to 6, definition at 6 to 6.5. Bada bing, bada boom, you got a beautiful transparent drive. Sounds like this with my really clean amp. Turn on that beautiful drive. My gosh. Did I mention this was free? Like they don't even, we just changed, this changes things. This changes things. It's not just workarounds anymore. That's a great transparent, just, it's incredible. I don't know, guys. I don't know. That's really crazy. And then I'm gonna run it back here to this. We'll get into the other stuff in a future video, and we haven't even talked about the full OC yet, because that thing's really nice. I don't know what else to say. I love this thing. I'm HW. The Kemper Drive is my new favorite. I don't even know if I should say that, because the full OC is, you're going to hear, if you're an OCD fan, you're going to love this thing. My name's been HW. Thank you so much for watching this first look at the Kemper Drives. I'm going to dial in some presets. I'll add them to Tone Junkie Tone Tools, and you can check out, of course, profiles on the, whatever. Just go download the new drives, all right? You don't need any more profiles. Download the drives. They're incredible. They're awesome. Thanks so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. HW, out.